I want to show them that if you have a dream and you work hard and you go after it, it can be achieved. It was at that point when I was feeling just very tired, lethargic, overwhelmed, and I just needed something to clear my mind, to give me energy. And I started drinking coffee.
Yeah.
And then coffee would make my heart palpitate, so I had to stop. So I started pairing it, and this is where the Jamaican flavors and spices came in. So I started pairing it with the Jamaican spice, and I was like, oh my God, this is good. I shared it with everybody because I just could not shut up about it at that point in time, because it just transformed everything.
Monique Farquharson, CEO and founder of the Matcha Yaad, a drinks company producing matcha but with a Jamaican twist. Hopefully.
So I decided to do it and ended up even being the global MBA student of the year. Literally from my pocket to the business.
So you haven't raised investment? No?
Not yet. Yeah. So everything has been 150% bootstrap. We've received, thankfully, a few grants.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it's just out of pocket. So, just navigating that and just making sure that I can eat literally as well. It's just been, oh my goodness gracious.
Hello and welcome to Founder Stories, the podcast for small business owners. I'm your host, Simon Kalu, and I created this show not only to motivate and inspire, but to give you actionable strategies to take back into your business, shortcutting your route to success. Each week, I'll sit down with real and relatable business owners, uncovering how they've created a business that gives them freedom, creates impact, and makes money. So let's get started. Welcome back, guys, to season 2 of Founder Stories. We are back with another episode, always bringing you relatable, inspirational business owners. Today we have a very special guest, Monique. I don't know if I'm going to say your last name correctly.
Just butcher it, let's see.
Okay. Farquharson.
You almost got it, Farquharson. So the H-A-R is actually silent, so yeah.
Okay, Farquharson. Monique Farquharson, CEO and founder of the Matcha Yaad, a drinks company producing matcha but with a Jamaican twist. Hopefully you're happy with that. That's how I see it. First time I am sampling the product, if you can hear ice clinking, and it is so good. So welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Simon.
We are in what was my dining room, but we turned it into a podcast studio, so quite apt, I think, for food and beverage conversation. If you're listening for the first time, guys, Founder Stories is about helping entrepreneurs and business owners with real-life actionable advice, strategies, tips, and stories to inspire. I love podcasts, actually, like Diary of a CEO. And I still listen to it now, but I just feel like it's slightly less relatable for the small business owner or the scale-up business because, like this week I was listening to the founder of Netflix, and whilst the stories are useful, it's not like it was when it first came out. I want to take things back into my business that I can get excited about and go and start. So for people that are running businesses in retail or even in different industries, I know there's going to be so much value today. Hopefully we can share your story. We will do, for sure, some lessons, and the viewers or listeners can gain insight from that. I'm so interested, based on our initial chat as well, about your founder story, the origin of the product. When you told me about I won't tell your story for you, but the amount of time and effort that you went to in the research phase is absolutely incredible. I think people are going to be really inspired by that. So let's start with you. Let's go through what your company does now. What's the name? What are the products? Where are you at now? And then we can kind of reverse back to how you got to this point, if that's okay.
Sure. So the name of the company is the Matcha Yaad, so you got that right. And what we do is we fuse together the wonderful, beautiful spices of Jamaica with matcha, and we create functional drinks and also other matcha-based products that is just going to fuel your productivity, your mental alertness, things like that. And what was the other part that you wanted to know?
No, that's it. So I've got a question on that, actually. For people that don't know, what is matcha? And I like the sound of it because for entrepreneurs and most of the viewers or listeners will be business owners or aspiring business owners. Improving productivity is always something we're after. And, you know, with coffee, you get that high and that low. How does matcha help you and how does it affect you?
Sure. So matcha is essentially a form of green tea. So if you're familiar with green tea, then you technically, by extension, are somewhat familiar with matcha.
Yeah.
So it's the leaves of the green tea that they ground into a powder. And why matcha is so special is because it has all sorts of amazing health benefits.
Yeah.
And how it differs from coffee is that whilst matcha also has caffeine, it has L-theanine, which is an amino acid that regulates the caffeine. So you get a slow release of energy that's sustained for a longer period of time. And that's why I don't really classify matcha as like an energy drink. It's more for mental alertness because it calms your body, sharpens your mind so you can focus better.
Okay, so much better actually for an entrepreneur that's looking to do a block of deep focus work versus me. I have a coffee, I feel amazing for 20-30 minutes and then
you just
it's
crash.
Gone. Probably worse than before. Okay, and the second part of the question was, what products does the Matcha Yaad produce now?
Sure. So we have currently a line of 3 products. So we have your starter, which is just your beginner friendly product. That is our ginger refresher. So that's this drink that you're drinking over there. So this one has all the wonderful spice of Jamaica, like ginger, cayenne pepper, a little bit of lime juice as well, and the matcha. So it's a very intentional drink. So it has a lot of health benefits from the matcha, the ginger, the cayenne. Like for example, ginger is good for digestion, cayenne is good for inflammation, the limes give you vitamin C. So all round a wellness focused drink, but it's an entry level drink. So it's heavy on the flavor, and then you get like a nice taste and introduction to matcha, which can be overwhelming for some. And then once you've acquired the taste of matcha, then we have our peach matcha. So I don't have that one here, but we have a pouch with peach and matcha. So it's like matcha powder flavored with peach. It's incredible. So that one, and then the last one is this here, which is our ceremonial matcha. So this is for like the matcha OGs. So you know what you're doing and you're ready to just, you know, go straight in and dive in. So that one, very high quality, incredible, very crisp and creamy. So this is the one that you probably have like in the morning to make desserts, to make smoothies, all sorts of stuff. Very versatile.
And can kids have the drink? Is there a lot of caffeine in there? Or because the taste wise, I think my kids would love this. You know, like we're trying to introduce them to spices a little bit. They're Indian, right? So we're trying to get them to eat curry, but they're still on that, this is too spicy. But they're starting to get, one of them really loves chili in his food, sharp taste, things like that. But we try not to give them, I mean, I know loads of kids drink Diet Coke and that's got caffeine in it, but we try to keep them away from it while they're sort of 9-10.
And that's what I would say, because whilst some parents, you know, allow kids to have like caffeine, it is really going to be dependent on you. But we wouldn't necessarily overtly just recommend it for children. It wasn't a drink built for children. So the parents would need to make that decision. And
this seems like it would be, I mean, I don't drink now, but I'm imagining this on the beach with some ice in and some tequila would taste amazing.
I mean, I'm promoting health and wellness, but sometimes you want vibes,
that's okay,
right?
Yeah, I mean,
no, it tastes really good as a cocktail. So we have it. So some
rum,
of the restaurants and that. So rums, tequila, and vodka. Amazing. And I think it's there's this spiced rum. I don't remember the brand, and it is incredible with it. A restaurant actually has it on the menu right now. As a mix, it's so good.
And that leads me on to another question. So in terms of expanding the business, where do you sell at the moment? You can buy via the website, right?
Yeah, so you can buy via the website.
Partnerships with retail stores, like you said, the restaurant.
So we're
How
in
have
a
you
few
done that?
restaurants, and we have a few farm shops, delis. So like, for example, we're in London at the Black Farmer.
Okay.
So that's down in Brixton. We just scored Panzers, which is a nice, beautiful place in London. So that's a nice little retail that we have there as well. And we're in Kent as well at Laura's Larder, and a few other places are scattered. So most like health food shops, restaurants, cafes, and those artisan farm shops, delis, places like that.
Okay. And what's your vision for this business?
To take
How
over
many
the
how
world.
many years in, how many years in are you now?
So that's a layered question, because technically speaking, this is like 8 years in the making.
Yeah.
But we launched the drink proper in March of this year.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the drink, so as I said, it's 8 years in the making, because this has started from all the way back in Jamaica. You heard the story. We can probably speak a little bit more on that.
We will.
But
Yeah.
technically, proper, the drink was launched in March.
Okay. Wow. So you've made some incredible progress already. Well, we'll come back to that. Tell me about how it got started. Like how did you get started in this world of entrepreneurship? What triggered you to think, I'm always so interested in the origin story, which is the whole point of the podcast.
Yeah.
How do you come up with Matcha? Like what's your background? I mean, we spoke about this before we hit record, but where did you grow up? And how did that, if it did, have an impact on discovering this?
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in Jamaica. So I was born in Jamaica, and my background is very mixed. So my very first job was as a teacher. So I was a mathematics and science teacher.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was teaching high school kids. I taught them for a year, got bored, and said, you know what, this is not for me. Let me go back to university and study something else. And then I started studying actuarial science, so heavy on mathematics, statistics. So very analytical background.
Yeah.
But it was actually that really started the entrepreneurship and the Matcha Yaad, because when I was in university, because I was studying such a difficult degree, I was always busy, full credits always, because with AXA you don't have spare time, so you're always studying all nighters, all that kind of jazz. So I felt very overwhelmed, and the type of person that I am is I like to do a lot of stuff, right? And it was at that point when I was feeling just very tired, lethargic, overwhelmed, and I just needed something to clear my mind, to give me energy. And I started drinking coffee.
Yeah.
And then coffee would make my heart palpitate, so I had to stop. And then some woman just randomly introduced me to matcha, and I hated it. I spat it out. But the health benefits were interesting enough to pull me back, because I actually really needed something because of the state that I was in. So I started pairing it, and this is where the Jamaican flavors and spices came in. So I started pairing it with the Jamaican spice, and I was like, oh my God, this is good.
Yeah.
And when I did that, I shared it with everybody, because I just could not shut up about it at that point in time, because it just transformed everything. I could focus better. I was getting better grades, all that kind of jazz. And then a friend of mine said, you really need to launch a business, because this thing works, because it was also working for them. And that's when I was like, even though I studied AXI, maybe I should launch my own business. But I didn't do it just instantly. I went to work for a startup. So instead of just going down the AXI path, I'm like, you know what? I think I might want to dive into entrepreneurship, but let me work for a startup, just understand, how startups operate before doing it myself. Did that. It was interesting. I felt like I could handle it. And then I launched the business in Jamaica.
Oh, so you launched in Jamaica first?
Yeah, so I launched the first matcha distribution company in the country.
Yeah.
And things were going really well. Like within 1 year, we were just like, it was crazy. And I launched it not necessarily, I don't know what I was thinking at the time. It was just like, let me just try something. I didn't have like goals, quote unquote, which sounds weird, because you're launching a business, so you should have goals, right? I really didn't. And it just blew up in front of me. And then I was making real, quote unquote, money. It was, I was like, oh, okay, let me try to see if I can get serious about this. And then my customers, they were always asking, because we had a juice bar. So just to make that clear, so we had a juice bar, and then we also had like matcha powder that we were selling in certain health food stores, supermarkets and all that. And because things were going really well, I said, you know what? I need to understand matcha more, because even though I had the experience, I wanted to create different products from it, and my customers were always asking for something to take away.
Yeah.
No one in Jamaica could answer that question for me. So I took the leap of faith, quit my 9 to 5 because I was working whilst doing the business.
And where in Jamaica were you?
So I was living in Kingston now.
Okay.
So I was born in Manchester, but then I started living in Kingston.
You were born in Manchester and started living in Kingston?
In Kingston, yeah.
So when did you move between the two there?
So when I started university.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when the business, so when the business started to, get some traction, I said, let me take a leap of faith. So I quit my 9 to 5 job and then moved to Japan.
Yeah.
So, as we do, I guess. But I really wanted that authentic experience, and credibility and authenticity is super important to me. And I also wanted to almost honor the culture, because matcha is very culturally significant in Japan.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to understand the holistic view of what this product is that I'm selling from the source.
Yeah.
And then I went to Japan, lived there for almost 2 years, just studying and, understanding just the landscape and matcha and everything, making friends with my suppliers, visiting the farm, just seeing the entire process from plant to powder, and just understanding as much as I could. Had classes, had my own sensei, doing like tea ceremonies. It was just a fantastic experience. Oh my gosh, Japanese, it has a special place in my heart.
Yeah, I can imagine. When you told me
lovely.
that story the first time we spoke, I came off the call and straight away went and told my kids, look, listen to this. This person had so much drive, so much confidence that they moved to Japan for 2 years to research the product, to make the product the best it could be, before then, coming back and either relaunching or making changes or whatever it is, or just confirming that it was where it should be. I found it incredible that you do that as an origin story as well. And I know you didn't do it just to create an origin story. You did it out of genuine desire to really understand, like you said, the culture, the product, to bring to market the best thing that you can. But yeah, sorry to interrupt you. Just thought it was incredible.
Thanks. So whilst I was in Japan, and just doing all of that, a friend of mine actually said, Monique, there's a scholarship that you need to apply for. This is in the UK, because I had the intention to go back to Jamaica, of course.
Yeah.
And then they told me about this scholarship by Aston University. And then when I looked at it, I'm like, oh, this actually would be very much worthwhile, because like with Aston is in the UK. The UK has like a huge tea culture, and then it has a very young crowd, for example, in Birmingham, where Aston is.
Yeah.
And then I noticed that the market for matcha just started to grow and evolve in the UK, and it was much further ahead than Jamaica, because as I said, we were like the first in Jamaica. And then I decided that, let me take a detour. Let me come to the UK instead. So I went to Jamaica and pretty much closed everything, because I decided that I'm going to, do everything in the UK, basically start from scratch.
Yeah.
And it was a very heavy decision for me, because I really wanted to know, was this the right thing to do? But ultimately it was, because the business depended on me a lot in Jamaica.
Yeah.
So moved to the UK, and that's when the quote unquote Matcha Yaad was born, because like whilst we were in Jamaica, we were just doing matcha, just testing out, all sorts of stuff. But then the whole concept of fusing these cultures together, all that kind of jazz, it came from that experience in Japan, and then coming to the UK, and then almost like cementing and understanding how I want to position the company.
Yeah.
And then, so that's where the Matcha Yaad started in the UK.
And so what was this course or opportunity at Aston that your friend had told you about? What
It was called an enterprise scholarship. So it was basically a full scholarship to finance your entire education in the UK for your master's.
Yeah.
So I decided to do an MBA. And then it would have financed my entire education, and then also help me to start the business, like register the business and all that kind of jazz in the UK. So it was, you know, a fantastic opportunity. So I'm like, you know, let me just get it, and plus I get an MBA out of it, which I also wanted to do, because I could have done any masters, but I really wanted to do the MBA specifically because I know that with a master's in business administration, I would understand the ins and outs of business much better than, you know, just that experience that I had in Jamaica, and just understand how business really works and the different things that, you know, helps business to function. So I decided to do the MBA and ended up even being the global MBA student of the year.
Wow.
So
And presumably even just to get into that, well, congratulations.
Thanks.
Presumably just to get into that in the first place, you had to qualify.
Oh, of course,
pitch. They
yeah.
had to believe in your
we had to pitch
idea,
the business, right? Because it was a big competition for, you know, students all over the world, because you know, they're coming and
you've
I
kind
was
of played that bit down, right?
It was a big deal, and the competition was stiff as well, because we had like proper businesses pitching and all that kind of jazz. So not to downplay it, but yeah, that one is one of my proudest accomplishments, I would say.
Yeah, for sure it should be. I mean, imagine the cost if you were to go and do that.
Oh my God.
Off your own back, and they're willing to sponsor you for that. So they're definitely going to make sure that you're the right type of person, right?
Yeah.
And I totally agree. I mean, that MBA, I've always loved the idea of doing an MBA, because then you've got a well-rounded understanding and experience of what it takes to be a CEO and run the business, as well as just the passion for the product, right? So then even if you, in the future, as the business scales, bring someone else in, you can still understand what their role should be, right? You know how to actually run the business. And I think a lot of times people have good ideas. Seems like you're a very intelligent person, so it's a nice mix of intelligence. Now you've got the qualification to understand how to run and scale a business, but lots of people, they might have a great product, but maybe they don't have the academic intelligence levels, or they don't have the training to then turn it into a real business. So it doesn't impact or have the reach that it should do. But now you can actually do the product justice by getting it out to as many people as possible, right? Because if people don't know about this, they can't replace caffeine with matcha, or they can't replace Red Bull with matcha, or whatever, and this will be a much healthier, better alternative for them.
No, definitely.
Okay, so now you've done your MBA.
Yes.
Scooted past that. Were you developing this alongside? Was that part of the program?
So yes and no, but MBA was just like a proper MBA, but still within Aston, and part of the scholarship was the development of the business itself.
Okay.
So right after finishing the MBA, we went straight to a boot camp. And did that for a couple of weeks to launch the business, but I didn't actually start trading at all, because whilst, you know, that's fine and dandy, I also wanted to understand the culture of the UK. I didn't know a soul here apart from my aunt, and I didn't even live with her anymore because she was in London and I had to move to Birmingham, and I just had to, you know, start to figure out how to build my network, how to save, because now I needed to find a job and all sorts of stuff. So it was me starting from scratch again. And that's why I did not, you know, just jump right into the business at that time, because one, I wouldn't even be able to afford it. And then two, I did not know enough people. I didn't have the network within which, you know, I could rely on to kick the business, or, you know, take the business off the ground. So for about a year, almost 2 years, I tried to navigate the food and beverage industry, started to build my brand. And that's why some persons think that the brand is much older than it is, which it really isn't. But I just started to, you know, get my name out there, get my face out there, you know, I'll talk to just a lot of people, ask a million questions, some of them probably silly, but at least, you know, I'm wiser now. So that's why I always advocate for asking silly questions, because you can only be wise afterwards, right? So within 2021 to say 2023, it was just a period of research development, finding manufacturers, understanding the product, testing the market, getting feedback, going back to the drawing board, and all of that up until now March, we properly launched the product. And since then, it's just been crazy.
So were you working at that time?
Oh, of course, and I'm still working now. Yeah.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. So I work full time still.
Wow.
Yeah, because I'm bootstrapping the business. So I'm a consultant. I'm an analytics consultant for Accenture. Yeah.
Oh, wow. You are super clever, aren't you? And Accenture work you really hard, don't they?
They do. Oh, my goodness.
So you're managing the launch and scale of a startup while you're not working 35 hours a week, right? Presumably you're
working like 100 hours. What you mean?
Yeah. So is this where you get your energy from?
I guess.
Matcha.
I guess that's the funny thing.
Or is it like you really believe in this so much, like you've got a vision for where it will be, that drives you? Like what drives you? Because you are working
that's a drive.
Incredibly hard.
I am genuinely. I am.
And you don't seem tired either, really. You look fresh.
Thank you, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's really that drive. And, I have a lot of persons that are depending on me as well. Because, I have my family back home and all that kind of jazz. And I have my mom and I have my nieces, my sister. And when I think about it, like, for example, my nieces, I want to set an example for them because I want to show them that if you have a dream and you work hard and you go after it, it can be achieved. I want to be just that living, breathing example for them so that whenever they come up with whatever dreams it is that they have, whether it's going to be, an entrepreneur or somebody else or whatever, then they can say, okay, auntie did it, so I can as well. I don't have my kids yet, but, it's the same would go for them. And then my mom, she has always believed in me. So it's just like, I don't want to let her down. Yeah. I
think that's so important, isn't it? People need to have something bigger than themselves. Because if it's just yourself, self-accountability isn't the same as feeling like you want to set an example. Like I want to set an example for my kids. Mm-hmm. My kids are lazy, right? And I need to work out why, because I'm not lazy. Yeah. But at some point, they say that as a kid, whether it's your nieces observing you or my kids observing me, going back into the office the last 2 nights from 10 p.m. till 1 a.m., doing masterminds, coming up with ideas, they may only be receiving that on a subconscious level now. Mm-hmm. But when they're adults, that will be learned behavior.
Yes.
And then they will work hard. And I think, you need that. I mean, I've been in business for 13, 14 years now. You've been really developing this for a long time and you still have that drive, probably because of that third party accountability, right?
No, I would say that, yeah, for sure. And also through example as well, because like my mom, she is just the most fantastic woman. She dedicated all her youthful days to her kids, myself, my sister, my brother. And she's in her 50s now and she's going back to school. Wow. And, that alone shows me that, I can definitely do this. And, age is just a number. There's nothing that can stop me from, just going after my dreams. Because if you have an example, like, for example, in this case, my mother, then what can stop me? And I have to go after it. I have to do something. And plus, I just love matcha too, and I just love this journey that I'm on as well. And when I interact with like my customers and all of that, that also pushes me because I am solving some of the problems that they have. And when they come back to me and say, "Oh, your product really helped me to do this or that or whatever," that is like, yes, I feel really good when I hear that.
I think that's a mistake that lots of people make is they fall in love with their product, but they don't ask the consumer. Like, what were maybe some of the changes that you did make or feedback that you did get from the consumer?
Mm-hmm. Oh, so many. So I've had feedback, for example, from a few persons that were studying. So they were in university or whatever, and similar to my story where they were just finding it very hard to focus and that kind of jazz. And they would say that, Monique, every time that I drink that matcha, I can study through the night, and, they can see themselves like staying up really late and focused on what it is that they're doing and all that kind of jazz. And some other persons have come back to me to say that the matcha particularly has helped them with their craving, because I've heard all sorts of stories, some things that I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that the product could do this. Because there was this one woman in particular that told me that it has helped her so much with her craving, so she does not crave like sweet things anymore.
Okay. And
it has been helping her very much with her diet.
Yeah.
Other persons have been telling me that it really energizes them. Some persons say that every time they drink it, they just feel good, which is another thing that I personally have experienced.
I feel like that too now. Like I feel, because I've had a can, and I know that's not even probably strong compared to, you can put some more in. It's like more alertness, more energy, but calm.
Yes, that
the calmness, which is how you focus at work. Because if you're so up, you constantly, I find, shifting from one task to another. So there weren't necessarily anything that people fed back that they didn't like. It was more the effects that you weren't aware of.
It was more the effects, and a lot of things that I personally was just not aware of, and that is why it's always a whole new world when I'm doing expos, and then my consumers, especially persons who are coming back, they would come back and say, listen, I have to get like 5 more cans or whatever because of XYZ. And then some of the things that they tell me, I'm like, really? Because I haven't experienced that, but they have, and they swear by it. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
And would you recommend, I've had this conversation a few times this week, would you recommend people continuing to work so that they have an income, so they don't rely on the income from their business in the first few years in order to make different decisions? Right?
I mean,
because your decisions that you make if you have income coming in are for the long-term good of the business, even if it means you make less money now. Whereas if you need that business to make sales, maybe you'll make different decisions.
I mean, yes and no, but the thing is, it really just depends on the position that the person is in, because I'm in a position where I have to work. Would I want to? No, I would actually probably even prefer, doing this full time. But I'm in that position where I have to work. So this is a very multi-layered question, and I think my answer would probably change based on scenario.
Okay, so for you, I'm really interested in your routine. How do you manage your time? Presumably you're on it 7 days a week, right?
7 days a week, 24/7.
So the weekend is all on the business. And you married, single?
I'm married,
You're married, So tell me about how you still have time for each other and you're working, and then you fit, how many hours do you think you can fit in on Matcha Yaad?
Well, firstly, I must say that I have a fantastic husband. God bless him, because he has been just this rock of support, and I don't know if I could even date someone else that would be as supportive as this man, because he's always been like behind me 100%, being super supportive. Because I mean, if I need to go to an expo, or if I need to do this or that, he's there with me, from even back in Jamaica. We actually got married when we were here, but we were together from when I was living in Jamaica. And he has been one of the persons that, if I have expos, anything that it is I need to do, he would be helping me. But in terms of routine, you know what? So a typical day for me would look like I would just get up in the morning, shower, brush my teeth, all that kind of jazz, and then go to my 9 to 5. So I pretty much focus on my 9 to 5.
In the office.
In the office. Right? Exactly. But I mostly work from home, but sometimes I do go to the office in London.
Okay.
And it's complete focus on my 9 to 5.
And for those of you that don't know, Accenture is probably the #1 consulting company in the world. And anyone that I worked with, because I did my ACA at KPMG, and the dream for people was to finish at KPMG and go to Accenture. And it was very few people, even in London at KPMG, even the ones that blasted through all their exams first time, like I did, that would get accepted for a job at Accenture. So it's not like you can walk into a job at Accenture. It is like probably maybe McKinsey might be seen as a similar kind of level if you're a consultant. But Accenture and McKinsey this is like cream of the crop. So it's not you just clocking in, clocking out, doing basic admin stuff. It's high level work, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I think you seem to me to have a great degree of humility. You don't big yourself up. You don't have a big ego. Lots of things that other people would talk about in a sort of with an air of bravado, you play them down. So I'm going to big you up for you.
Well, thank you. But yeah, so I would be focused on my 9 to 5, which, as you've mentioned, it's quite heavy work. And the work that I do at Accenture is not the easiest either. And then once that's done, I clock out at 5. Most of the times I try to be quite stringent on my clock out time because time is extremely important to me. So once I clock out at 5, and obviously I'll be, making sure that I finish my work or whatever, then it's Matcha Yaad. And Matcha Yaad can be from 5 to 9 or to 1 a.m. It really depends on what needs to be done.
Yep.
And then every weekend, that's just Matcha Yaad weekend. So I'll be having expos and all that kind of jazz. And then I try my best on Sundays to, go to church. But most of the times it's just matcha, at least for now. And that's how I've been living, to be fair. So it's just eat, breathe, sleep, business. I do have time that I just take for myself, for my family and all that kind of jazz. But, with, for example, the husband that I have, he's been super supportive. So he doesn't mind. And for a lot of the things that I do, we do it together.
Yeah.
And so it's just working in that way. So it's not like I'm saying, let me just dedicate like this day or that day to marriage or this day to the business.
Yeah, it's
this
all
day
integrated,
to that.
right?
Exactly.
Which
It's just like a big mix.
Yeah, like I was talking to someone yesterday who he'll go and do certain things and he'll take his kids with him.
Yeah.
Or I had a street art company founder come in. They do a lot of the graffiti artwork for the Premier League football clubs and things like that. So he'll take his son with him, to view the latest artwork or to meet the latest footballer. Or whatever.
And it makes things easier that way as well. Because even with my nieces, because every day I call them, I love them so much. And we'll even be talking about matcha when we're on the phone too, So everything is interconnected.
Yeah, that's, I think, what they refer to as work-life integration rather than work-life balance, which I don't think is a good thing. Is saying I work as little as possible in order to have a balance in inverted commas. But if you get old, like I'm getting older, a lot older than you, and you retire and stop work for this dream, or there's this fable of an investment banker, I think it is, that meets this fisherman on, I'm not sure if you've heard this story, meets this fisherman in, let's say he was in Jamaica on holiday, and then says to the fisherman, what's your routine like? He says, well, I've got one boat. I go out fishing for 2 to 3 hours in the morning. I carry the fish. I come back. I sell them at the market. And then I spend time with my family all afternoon. We have a barbecue. We drink a few beers. We sit in the sun. I might surf. And then he tells him this whole story about how if he did this and if he did that and if he did the other, he could have 25 boats. He could have 50 boats. He could be a millionaire. He could invest all his money in the stock market. And then he could retire. And the guy said, and then what would I do then? And he said, well, then you can sit on the beach and drink beer and watch the sunset and relax. And he said, okay, well, what will that take? And he said, well, you probably have to work 100 hours a week for the next 20 years. But, then you'll be living the dream. And he just looked at him like, you're crazy. I'm already living the dream. What are you talking about? And sometimes you'd get wrapped up in all of that work-life balance, which isn't true. But I think what you're doing, and obviously what you've learned early, is just integrating your life and having the right partner that goes along with you and supports you and can see where the business is going to be.
Yeah.
Super
and
important.
I think that is also important, just to, that heavy on the right partner thing as well, because the wrong partner is going to be terrible for you, your business, and everything in between. So.
Yeah, and I think sometimes even if you don't have the right partner at the start, they can evolve. If you have the right relationship, they can evolve. Even if they don't have an understanding of what you're going through as an entrepreneur, they can evolve to be supportive. and to be in tune with you, because it is difficult, right? You'll have some days, I'm sure, where you're down and it's really
many
difficult.
days. Yeah. No, because I don't want it to seem like it's fine and dandy all the time, because like a lot of times I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to just stop everything. And things get very overwhelming. And especially when I just moved here, it was so difficult for me because and I was talking about it just the other day, actually, with just, how is it that you start a company in a new country with a new culture, you're bootstrapping, you're on your own. There are a lot of things to, add to stress, and you're an immigrant. So you have like all of these immigration and visa issues, there's so many things that you have to contend with. And then you have your family back home, all sorts of stuff. So some days it feels extremely overwhelming. But I always go back to center and understand why I'm doing it, for who, and that basically helps to ground me and make me feel like I can push forward. But it's definitely not easy.
No, it's tough. Do you think for you, it was like, were you a really clever kid? Is it natural for you to have achieved what you've achieved, or to get to do that degree, which then gets you in a position to obviously have a level of academic capability to write the pitch, to get into the Aston program, to go through the MBA itself is not easy. Are you naturally a clever, driven person? Was it hard work? Like, is it a blend of the two? What do you think?
I think it would probably be a blend of the two, depending on who you ask. Because like when I was growing up, I can say I was pretty clever, I guess. Used to come like first in class and all that kind of jazz. And then in high school, I was like decent, average, probably a little bit above average. University, it was all right, I guess. I don't really want to downplay it or anything because, the degrees and all that kind of jazz, I guess they would speak for themselves. But I think it is a mixture of just natural ability, but also a lot of hard work, because I work really, really, really hard, I would say. Yeah.
Where does that come from? Is it your mum, you said, seeing her work hard?
I think it's probably, it's cultural too, because like it's my mom, even my father as well, because they've been working really hard throughout their lifetime. And then I also understand where I come from, because it's quite humble beginnings. And I know where I want to go and the type of lifestyle that I would want to live. And I also would want to, give back in a way where, for example, I can buy my mom a house, all sorts of stuff. So because I understand those things, it drives me and it makes me a little bit more relentless and more resilient than probably, an average person or something, because I know where I'm coming from, and I know that I need to go much more, beyond that. So that's the driving force, I guess.
Do you feel the weight of that pressure sometimes becoming overwhelming, or is it something that you deal with? You don't put too much pressure on yourself?
To be honest, I don't really put too much pressure on myself, because whilst I do, have certain goals and I hold, myself to a certain standard, and I have, certain things. But when I think about it as well, is even if, I didn't do everything that I'm doing now, I would still have the support of my closest family.
Yeah.
So it's really pressure, like it's almost like mostly internal pressure and not really external.
Yeah.
And because I have such a beautiful support system, and I give credit to God to that, because like my mom, my sister, my husband, my brother, all of those people, have been extremely supportive. So I don't feel too much pressure to really do anything, but it's more like I have a goal and I want to get there.
Do you still have friends? Because when it's a random question, but when I started my business, I was driven like you. I still am. But I couldn't find time to maintain relationships with friends. and have the business and my partner. So I decided, okay, just my partner in the business.
Yeah. No, that's actually a very good question. So yes, I still have friends, but I don't have a lot of new friends. So most of my friends have been friends for years and years and years and years and years. Because, like, for example, coming to the UK, I probably have like 3, 4, 5 persons that I would consider as, like close friends or whatever, probably 2. But everyone else, this is like 10, 15, 20 years of friendship, you know, so they're good. And we already have that understanding.
Have to talk to them all the time,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So there's not a lot of work that I have to like be putting in because the friendship has already been established.
Okay. That makes sense. What's been, I mean, we spoke a little bit about the hours and putting that in. What have been some other struggles that you've had up to this point? I mean, I know it's only been officially launched for a few months, but what have been some of the biggest struggles that you've had getting to this point?
Let me start counting. So I guess the biggest struggle initially was just not knowing anybody.
Yeah.
So that was very difficult for me at the start because I didn't know anybody. And then the other one, and then, just building that network, because for me and how I understand business is relationship.
Yeah.
And you have to build relationship, and building relationship takes time.
Yeah.
And, that has been and still is quite a struggle because everyone that I've known for 6 months, 3 months, 2 months, all that kind of as maximum. And I need, some of those people are very important people that you need to have a strong relationship with. And the time has not been there yet to develop that level of relationship.
Yeah,
so that's one. So the other one would be just like manufacturing and just like the ins and outs of business. Because like, for example, with the can, oh my goodness gracious, we've had so many issues with this can just to get it off the ground, to find the right manufacturer, all of those kind of jazz.
Where is the product made?
So it's made here in the UK.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. And then when it comes on to like this one, we had it like in a pouch, and then to get like the right tins and all sorts of, like those are the things, and
right?
just the product development aspect of things. And then the other huge issue would be just funding, because everything is bootstrap. So it's literally from my pocket to the business. So
you haven't raised investment? No?
Not yet. Yeah. So everything has been 150% bootstrap. We've received, thankfully, a few grants.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it's just out of pocket. So, just navigating that and just making sure that I can eat literally as well. It's just been, oh my goodness gracious. And then just making sure that, I can do so many things because it's me. It's almost like, it's not a one-woman show, but it kind of is, because I don't have, the business is not at a point where we can employ like, a nice bunch of persons to do all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot of heavy lifting that I need to do. Yeah. And it's been so many things.
I know that you are starting to get these breakthroughs now. Yeah. And we see with our retail clients where we've had them from the start, it'll be work, bootstrapped, and then there'll be one trigger point, whether it's a deal with Tesco's or Whole Foods or whatever it is. Yeah. That then brings in this massive order value that then they need to cash flow production. They might then go and get some investment at that point, but then they're off. And okay, well, I'm sure you do. You're working hard and you're self-funding to get to that trigger point, whatever that might be. You don't know who it is or what it is, but you're developing relationships. And at some point, you keep believing, the door opens, and then the business is almost transformed overnight. So I guess you have to be ready for that as well. You have you put yourself in a position already that the infrastructure would be there, the production could ramp up, all of those things.
That is
literally who you might need if you were to, 10x the business overnight, or even 100x. Okay, I'll hire this person first, then this person, then this, then this. You have that plan in place.
To be honest, yes and no. Because I feel like it's not until you get to that point until you really know, what things really look like. at this point, I'm trying my very best to be ready because
Yeah.
a lot of things are moving right now.
Yeah.
Some things are happening much quicker than others because there are certain conversations that I'm having now, and I'm like, oh, I was thinking that it's probably like next year or even 2 years down the line that I will be having those conversations.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm just working with just trying to develop that foundation in a relatively solid way as best as I can. And then once that switch is flipped, then let's see how it goes. But I can't say yes and I can't say no because it's up until when that experience comes that I'm going to be like, ooh, I actually was ready, or oop, I was not ready at all.
I guess there's a couple of things where you speaking about something else, you answered my question. I'm thinking, why are you working at Accenture? You could go get a part-time job, pay you a lot less, but you'd have more time on the business. But actually, the more money that you can generate from your own work, the more you can put back into the business to grow, and you don't have to give away equity for the longest period of time, which is what we always advise people. Because the longer you can leave it to give away equity, the more obviously money you're going to get in for a smaller slice of the business, which you may have to do at some point, or you may not.
No,
right?
that's true. No, that's true. And, you know, apart from even that, working at Accenture is also quite strategic for me as well.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, you get experiences with all different types of companies, products, all that kind of jazz. And I've learned so much since just working at Accenture. So it's not something that I would readily just give up unless, you know, I have to.
Yeah.
But oh my goodness gracious, I've learned so much working at that company.
But your mindset is really good because how old are you now?
Me, I'm 31.
Yeah, so when I was working at KPMG, I was slightly younger than you when I was at KPMG, but you know, probably even still, I went to Thomas Cook, I went to Paramount Pictures. I just had a bad attitude because I didn't want to be there. I wanted to be doing something else. Whereas if I look back now, I used to get to go and sit in and interview the CFO of, you know, big record companies, media agencies. And if I'd have had a different attitude, like, okay, let me get my questions done and tick all the audit boxes because I was in audit, then I could spend another 20, 30 minutes just asking this person about how the business runs and just learn from them, right? And I think that is the attitude that I always try and tell people, you know, when they go into a graduate scheme or things like that, that they are going to work you hard. You're slightly different now because they know your capabilities. They respect the fact that you get, I'm sure, your output done. They're allowing you to work like a reasonable amount of hours so you can still get home for 6 or whatever. But it is so important to have that attitude because if you don't have that open mindset to learning, you could just be starting to get annoyed at the fact that you have to go in and out. Whereas actually you're totally right. You're getting access to some amazing companies to see the insides of those and learning on almost a daily basis, I guess.
Yeah, it's just the knowledge really for me.
Yeah. What do you do, just a random one to drop in there, do you have any hobbies or what do you do outside of Accenture and Matcha Yaad? Like how do you keep yourself fit physically, mentally, things like that?
I mean, in terms of like fitness and all that kind of jazz, I just do regular exercise, walks, all that, you know, regular, I guess, human things. But in terms of hobbies, I just love baking. I've always just used baking as a means of just decompressing, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'll be in the kitchen baking or cooking or whatever because I find a lot of joy in that. And then the other thing for me is I like to travel. So I'd just be like traveling around, doing all sorts of stuff. Cafe hopping is a thing that I love to do as well.
And
just
tax
seeing
deductible
different
for you as well because it's research.
Research,
Yeah,
yes.
for sure.
I should actually do that for
No,
sure.
no, you should, yeah.
But yeah, so that's what I really do. And then outside of that, I'm big on family. So, you know, I'm spending, you probably heard this like 15 times already, times with my niece because I just love them so much.
Where are your nieces?
Yeah. So they're here in the UK. So they live very far from me ish, kind of, but I spend time with them.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. That's cool. We all know that the reality of a business, I mean, we've spoken about this, it's not a license to print money, especially at the startup phase or the infant phase. I imagine that you're constantly reinvesting in systems, processes, and your own learning.
No, yeah.
Like, what are you doing with the business just in terms of the practical aspect of it for people that are thinking about retail businesses? Obviously, you've got your distribution and your manufacturing set up now. You sell via the website. Is that on like a Shopify platform?
Shopify, yeah.
So that's plug and play. That works, right? The deals that you're doing with the retail outlets, how do you manage like practical things like stock control and getting stuff out to them and things like that?
So for getting stock to pretty much anyone, we have a third party fulfillment company.
Okay.
I
And
pretty
that's
much
made
I don't
it easier
really
for you to get going out
exactly
the box, right?
yeah, because I used to like pack the boxes and all that kind of jazz, and then I realized that no, that's not going to work for me. I still do on occasion, like for example if I'm doing like certain PR or whatever, but for the most part it's straight through the third party because there's no way, and you know, working full time, it just wasn't working at all for me. So there's that. And then in terms of, for example, just getting into these places, so I am on all sorts of platforms because there have many different companies that have I guess you can sign up with them, and then they put your products in front of certain retailers and whatever, and then the retailers would decide whether they want to buy it or not.
Like a PR agent for a product, right?
Kinda-ish. Yeah, more like a sales agent-ish, And then in terms of like sales and that type of thing, so we just started working with this other company who's basically trying to go around to get some sales and all that kind of jazz for us, because I've been doing just the regular normal thing when you do what you start at business, literally get on your feet, go to different places, and then people just scream obviously like nope, or you know, get out of my I haven't gotten that yet. But let's see.
I don't think you will with this product. I had someone on the podcast a few days ago, made me kind of realize actually there's so few people that are willing to put themselves out there and try and meet heads of department and just asking for the meeting. I've got something exciting to show you. It is different to everything else that's out there. A lot of the time they will give you some time, especially like you've got a very amicable or amiable, whatever the word is, like a nice, warm, open personality, much less likely to get shut down. But it's like you said about putting yourself out there and not having a fear of rejection and failure, because you will get rejected loads of times, but there's only the 1 or 2 or 3 meetings that you need.
No, I agree. And I mean, even with rejection, that's not something I fear anymore, because I've been rejected like 1,000 times with you know, so it's like, it just comes with the territory. I'm not even offended at this point. It's either like you say yes or no, and if you say no, that's even better for me because that makes things quick, you know. It's like no, then you just move on. So it's, and I feel like rejection to me is almost better than just stringing me along. And then I'm just
quick
trying
decision,
to
right?
Exactly.
But if you do X, Y, and Z, then we'll reconsider it at this point.
Exactly.
Is your goal with the business to is there equal focus on the e-commerce and the retail partnerships, or is one more important than the other for you?
So right now, the retail / food service is more important for us because I'm looking at scaling the business, you know, and exactly.
More quickly, right?
And with direct to consumer, especially like with your website and all that kind of jazz, whilst many businesses, you know, they have like a massive community on their websites and all that kind of jazz, that's great. But since as we are bootstrapping, the easiest way for us to get out there would be getting our product in the places where the consumers frequent. Because an arbitrary consumer is not going to be like, let me look up the Matcha Yaad. So up until we get to that point, if you have loads
of money and funding, you might go down the e-commerce route because your margins are higher. So there's a beer company that do alcohol-free beer that I buy that has got L-theanine and a few other things in it to make you feel like you've had an alcoholic beverage. Actually does feel like that, but it tastes like beer. I'd imagine that they've got a heavy amount of funding up front because they've gone down the e-commerce route, subscriptions, boxes, email campaigns, email listing, ads, social media, push, all of that stuff. And they're not in any of the supermarkets. And
I mean, that would be the ideal scenario for almost any brand, right? Because the margins, as you say, it's much better. But because we don't have, like you said, that huge financing that's backing the company, then it's third party, at least for now. Okay, no, that makes sense. And I guess there's no limit. Would a large supermarket chain put limitations on you to go back then, once you're making money from them because they put you in your stores, to go back and start promoting and pushing your own e-commerce? I don't think they would they? I mean, Yes and no, right? But it really depends on your strategy because, I mean, off the bat, if you are heavy on retail and expanding within retail, then your focus is on that. And the money that you're making and putting into the company would be to drive that.
Yeah.
It's a completely different strategy if your focus was on, for example, your website, because, you know, the money would be going into that instead. So I feel like if you have a brand, you need to be very clear on where your focus is, because whilst theoretically you can focus on two, but practically it's almost impossible.
Yeah, with the resource that you've got. And I do always believe in focusing on one primary product, one primary market, understanding who your dream client is, and presumably you don't have to say who it is now, but you have your dream retailers that you want to get in. And so you're networking with people, presumably, like we can use LinkedIn. People can use LinkedIn, go on there, say, I want to be in Whole Foods. Who's the buyer for Whole Foods? Okay, let me send them a connection request. If they don't accept, who do I know through that person? And slowly try and get onto their radar. Yeah. And I guess it's important for you to be creating good content as well, because if you're connected to one of those people on LinkedIn and you're posting every day on content, it's going to come up onto their feed.
Yeah. And that's why, for example, on my LinkedIn, I am always on LinkedIn posting and, you know, just trying to get my name and brand and all that out there. Because like, even though everybody should be expecting on a Monday morning, you're going to see Matcha Mondays. It's just a thing. But yeah, I agree.
And do you do that stuff yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah. So everything, you got all the hats at the moment.
All the hats at the moment.
And your partner helps you with some stuff, or does he just come and support you if you're doing
it's mostly support, to be fair, because he claims he's not business savvy, which I'm like, nope.
What does he do for a living?
So he's a teacher.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And that's actually how we met. Side story, but yeah,
when you were working
when I was working as we went to teachers college together.
Okay.
But we're friends, and
then you both got the decision together to move over to the UK.
Well, no, actually. Okay. So when I was in Jamaica and then I had the opportunity to go to Japan, I'm like, all right, babe, I'm going to Japan. And then when I was in Japan, he was actually thinking of, okay, you know, he's going to pack up stuff and then come to Japan with me. And I'm like, well, no, I'm actually going to the UK. And he's like, what are you doing, woman?
So he's really played the long game, hasn't he?
Yeah, and trust me, I'm an expert right now on long distance relationships.
Yeah, wow.
But yeah, so when I moved to the UK, I was here pretty much by myself for like a full year and everything. And then it's after that he's like, are you staying? Are you sure? And I'm like, oh, yeah. And he's like, all right, cool. And then he came over afterwards, and then we got married.
Such commitment. Again, like I said, that's why I went straight to my kids and told this story. It's such commitment to the brand to go, and you're potentially sacrificing a relationship, and you're going to a whole new country. Like Japan is not like presumably an easy. I mean, I know you said you were lonely in England, but you speak English. People speak English. It's like a similar-ish culture. Mm-hmm. Like there are Jamaican people in England, in Birmingham, in South London. Like I spent 5 years in Stockwell, near Brixton, around there. Like really cool, great food, love all that. Whereas in Japan, I'm not sure. Maybe there is a big Jamaican.
No, community. I mean when I went to Japan, and that's why persons are like, how the hell did you manage? Because like when I came to the UK, I didn't know anybody. And when I went to Japan, that means I really, like, there's not one person that I knew.
Yeah.
I couldn't speak the language well at all either. So when I say it was like a literal leap of faith, literally, not even figuratively, you know. So I'm like, yep, I'm going to Japan. Didn't know anybody, didn't know anything. The culture, yes, I always had an affinity towards the Japanese culture because it's something that I've always respected. When I was in university, I did an elective at the time to study Japanese.
Okay.
But that did not help at all.
Do you speak Japanese?
So I butcher Japanese, yes. But when I was there, I was speaking Japanese, you know, I was navigating quite fine. But yeah, it was, that was a whole new world. When they say you find yourself when you're on your, I found myself because I only had myself. So yeah.
Do you feel like it's important for entrepreneurs to get out of their comfort zone and do something like that? It might not have to be as extreme as moving to a different country. Right.
But yeah, I do think so because I mean, entrepreneurship in and of itself, it's about taking risk, and you should have like some affinity to risk, and you shouldn't be shy, you know. And it also, on entrepreneurship in and of itself, again, it's playing a game where you're not in your comfort zone for the most part. So whilst I wouldn't recommend, you know, to just arbitrarily get up and move to like Japan or any other country where you don't know the language or whatever, but definitely, you know, do something that is outside of your comfort zone, and then see how you can navigate that. And then that, to me, will help you navigate this very, you know, hard, difficult roller coaster of entrepreneurship.
You know, you'll become more resilient the more you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, which is why they say things like, I don't do it anymore, but things like CrossFit, sport, cross over to entrepreneurship, because if you get up in the morning and you do something really difficult that's horrible that you really don't want to do, then the rest of your day is pretty easy.
I should start CrossFit then.
Yeah, or just going for a harder walk, maybe.
Maybe.
Or bear crawling around Edgbaston, something like that.
I used to do those things because, fun fact, I was a cadet, you know. Now I'm like real soft and jelly, but like back then I was a proper cadet as well. A very different life.
Yeah, I think whatever gets you to sort of relax, get out and move is fine, right? And at the moment, like you said, time is precious, and you don't have a whole lot of time. What do you think? I know you've only been in this game officially for a short period of time, but you're achieving levels of success already, and already you're starting to say, well, I'm having conversations that I thought probably would be a year or two down the line. What do you think, either for the business or for you, have been your three keys to success up to this point? Either your own characteristics or what's in kind of the brand and the product.
Sure. So I guess the three keys off the top of my mind is, one, listen, because there are a lot of people that know way more than you think you know. And just have the humility to understand and accept that. Because, like, for example, even with the brand and the name and all that kind of jazz, I had to change quite a bit based on just expert feedback. And I saw the effects of it once I listened, and I was like, oh, yeah, I made a good decision.
Presumably you did a branding exercise for this, right?
Oh, of course, yeah.
And that is another point I wanted to make. People don't want to spend money on their product, but this cannot have been cheap. Like, I love your branding. The website, the colors, the name, the logo, the font. It doesn't look like a startup business, which is probably why one of the factors of why you're getting conversations and meetings that you might think are further down the line, because you're not turning up with a product. It looks like a product that's been around and been iterated 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times and had millions of pounds spent on the brand and product development. But that can't have been cheap.
Definitely wasn't. And it was a hard decision, but I'm happy that I made that decision, and early too. So yeah, for sure. But yeah, so listen is the first one. The other one is almost contradictory as well, but it is in the same vein. Know when to trust yourself and to just silence the outside. Because what I've learned over these few years is everybody will have a lot to say, and everybody's an expert in something. That doesn't mean that it's right for you or your brand. So you need to understand when to listen and when to be like, no, let's just silence the noise on the outside and trust your gut. Because I feel like in entrepreneurship, there's a level of trust that you need to have in your own self and the decisions that you make, or else you're going to be like the man and the donkey, you know, just hopping in and hopping off the donkey. I don't know if you know that story.
No.
You don't?
No, can you tell me the donkey story?
So there's this man and his donkey, and they were walking from point A to point B, and then every time they walked, they met someone, and one person was like, oh my gosh, you should be sitting on the donkey. Why are you just walking with donkey like that? Then they went to another person. They're like, why are you sitting with a donkey? You're wicked. You need to get off because you're too heavy. And then we went to a next point. They're like, no, you should be carrying the donkey. Like, so that's what I'm saying, you know, everybody's gonna have, you know, But yeah, so that's the next one.
Before you
And
move on to that one though,
yeah.
how do you do that? This is for me. I want to know this. How do you know when to listen to yourself and when to listen to others? Do you have to cross-reference what they're saying against your vision? Do you have to seek a second opinion? Like, how do you do that?
So it's a mixture of things. One, you have to understand what your vision is and where you want your business to go,
Yeah.
where you see your business. And if they're saying something that doesn't align with that vision, then that is when you start to think about it, whether you should actually listen, because they could be saying something that's good. But if it's completely off the vision that you have, then maybe it's not the best advice for you to take. The other thing too is look at their track record.
Okay.
Because, you know, a lot of persons will be like, they're expert in this. But what is their actual track record? Can you see any successes that came from what they said? Are they in the position where you potentially want to be?
Yeah.
You know, things like that. And if they're not, really think about whether you want to take advice from, you know, that person. And then the other thing, you know, specific to like goods or that kind of jazz, are the consumers feeling the same way, or are they, you know, very happy with what you have, how you've done it?
Okay.
And is that person, you know, speaking just from a place of just what their opinion is without any facts, any statistics, just they have this feeling, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And is this in line with what your consumers think? If that's not the case, your product is for your consumers. So who should you really be listening to? So there are lots of different things that you can use to, you know, help you to know when to shut the noise out.
Yeah.
And then also the other thing is just the intention. Does this person have good intentions for you? And a lot of times that you just know that from your gut, you know? And is this opinion that they're sharing something that would make you better off? You know, things like that you'd want to start thinking about.
No, that's
super
useful. I'm going to rewatch that bit myself and write it up in a little framework, because it is difficult. And actually it helps me now when I'm thinking in my head about people giving me advice right now on certain things as to whether I choose to take it. It's almost like a decision framework that you've gone through there for people. So I think that would be really, really helpful.
Yeah. No, well, I'm happy that I could help. And I guess the third thing that I would want to highlight, or that I've learned over the years, I guess, is know when to take a break and to step back.
Yeah.
Because some of the times, you know, when you're in entrepreneurship, you always feel like you need to be always on. And then you're looking at your competitors, and whilst you should pay attention to them and all that kind of stuff, sometimes you need to just take a step back, zone everything out, relax. Because I always say this, no, unless I'm working as a doctor or something, nothing is that important. You know, I'm not out here saving lives or anything like that. So I can take a step back and just decompress, because if you're just moving at the speed of light always and just, you know, just doing things just too quickly, you're gonna burn out, and that doesn't help anybody.
And that's a really interesting point as well. Like, I've learned to just be more self-aware. So I'll work in 4-month blocks. It's 3 months work on the business. I'll pick 3 projects to work on the business. Let's say one of them is get feedback from all my clients and make changes to the product based on the feedback, for example. So I'll work on that for 3 months. I'll review the progress for 3 months. Like, did it work? Did it change the data metrics that I'm tracking as a result of that? Like customer satisfaction maybe. And then I'll take 2 weeks off to deload, pre-planned. But in that, sometimes I might reach a state of overwhelm, or maybe I'm ill, or whatever it is, or maybe my family need me. So I think it's taken me probably 12, 13 years to get to a level of self-awareness where I can take your advice and do that. But I think for everyone like watching or listening, it is so important, because all I did for the first 10 years was just go. And now with this self-reflection, I can see some of the things that I should have carried on doing, some of the things that I should have started doing, and some of the things that I should have stopped doing. But I didn't see that because all I was doing is just grinding every single day. Just output, you know? So I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
You know, when you're on holiday or you're traveling and you're in a cafe and you're having a green tea, or you're out in the evening and you're having a rum and Matcha Yaad, that's when you get your best ideas. Or you can take, don't you think sometimes, like you were saying about overwhelm, you've got these 150 things going around in your head, what should I do? In that moment of a break and clarity, you can say, well, these are the next 3 things I should do.
And that's the thing. And that is just the importance and the power of just winding down and take, because a lot of times and probably it's because of social media or whatever, we're always seeing persons just on the go. And then, once you look on social media, that is why this is just like another point, but really come off of social media.
Yeah.
Because people are always doing stuff and you almost feel like you're being left behind if you're not doing. You're
watching them doing something.
Exactly. Yeah. But when you step back, you have a moment of calm, you decompress and all that kind of jazz, that's when clarity starts. And a lot of times we tend to forget that in order to get clarity, you need calm. Yeah. You need, to silence all the noise. So if you're doing too many things, you will never have clarity.
Yeah.
So if you want to make better decisions, you have to be in a moment of calm. You have to have a clear mind.
Yeah.
And this means you have to literally stop.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Which links back to the product, because I would be heavily caffeinated, maybe like use nicotine, maybe use other things just to reach that really high artificial dopamine level. But you're just doing. You're not thinking and you're not making good decisions, or you're not seeing opportunities. Every opportunity that I've seen that's moved my business forward massively, like the biggest step change for me, I think we were doing about 400,000 or 500,000. And then the next year we almost did double, was when I took a week out. I went to Amsterdam and I went to Business Mastery with Tony Robbins. And it was at that event where randomly I walked in and they had this global accounting advisors booth and they didn't have someone from the UK. Now we're Tony Robbins' business partner. But that, which is cool, just drop that in there. Some people hate Tony Robbins, to be fair, but he's quite a big deal. Just that time away, it wasn't even what he was saying at Business Mastery. It was the time out around other entrepreneurs, networking, talking, not doing your day to day, where I had 2 or 3 ideas that I then came back and implemented and made a massive difference.
No, but I can understand that, and I'm sure that is the truth, and that is also why I love Matcha so much. Not to oversell the product or anything, but it helps me to calm down. And historically, this is actually why the Japanese drink it. They drink it for meditation. They drink it for that moment of calm. They drink it, in their various practices, because it's the monks that, had brought matcha to Japan.
Okay.
And they were using matcha for meditation because it gives them a state of calm alertness.
Yeah.
And
just what everyone's looking for, right?
Exactly. And that's why I'm very particular with even how I speak about it, because it's not energy drink like that. It's not in that realm of all of those other energy drinks on the market. It's more productive. So it's giving you a state where you can focus, you can concentrate, your body feels calm, your mind is clear, so you have mental clarity and you can think better. And then that leads to better decision making.
Yeah, and people are always looking for that thing. Entrepreneurs, I know, are always looking for that thing to make them more productive. And you want to work less. If you're working less, how do you deal with, or do you just not feel it, the guilt of not working? Right? Because that's the thing that you need to solve in order to be able to do that. I mean,
is it really not working, or is it rewarding myself? Because you working less and you winding down, that is actually a form of work if you really think about it from a different perspective, because you are now in a position where you're putting your body in its optimal state to do things better. So it should actually be almost mandated, as in for you to decompress. Because if you don't, then you're putting your business at risk because you can't think clearly. Your decision making might become poor. You might make rash decisions. You might do things a little bit too quickly. You might underperform. You might feel tired, and everything suffers. So if you don't want your business to suffer, then you have to take care. And this is just like health in general. You have to take care of your health.
Yeah. Is there an optimum routine with this product? Let's say I graduate from baby school and I move up to the powder.
Yeah.
And I love it so much. Is there a danger that I take too much? I take it too close to bedtime? Like if I'm working, let's just say I work 9 to 3 and then I try and finish at 3 when the kids finish school. What would be my best routine for an entrepreneur to use this?
So one, it depends on your body, of course, because everybody's body is different. But generally speaking, just always remember that matcha, as great as it might taste, it's still a superfood, and it does have caffeine and other properties, right? So you have to make sure that you are taking it in doses and, react and respond to how your body, and just make sure that you take note of how your body responds to it, right? Okay. But typically, I would say having this like in the morning in like your smoothie, or you can have like a matcha tea, that type of thing with food, just to make sure that you're enjoying it. You can also have it, for example, with your protein shake, things like that. You can have it just like with just water with milk. It doesn't it doesn't matter. Or you can even make it in forms of desserts, like energy bars, balls. You can even make a pancake with it. It really just depends on you, because it's very versatile. And then if you do that, say 8, 9, and you want to have like another matcha, because the energy, quote unquote, or the caffeine effect on matcha lasts about 4 to 6 hours on a normal person. Some persons are a little bit more caffeine sensitive, so it might be a little bit longer, and they might even feel it a little bit stronger.
So it's a lot longer than having like a double espresso.
Definitely, because like with coffee, I think it's like 1 to 2 hours, because you just get like an instant high and crash. But with matcha, it's gradual. So it's like very much sustained over a period of time. And I would say if you're very caffeine sensitive, and if you really want to wind down in the evening, you just don't have this past 4 or 5 o'clock.
Okay, so if I work in, say, 2 work blocks, you could have one in the morning in a protein shake. You have your lunch break. You could have one more when you come back as a tea. And then you do that afternoon work block. And then you're good. You don't have another one after that.
Precisely, yeah. And then if you're one of those persons like me, because I work better in the night, so I would have mine late evening, so that I would just be staying up and, having a really good time up until like 12, 1 a.m., that type of thing. And then I would just...
And then you can still go to sleep, right? Because it's out your system. Cool. Okay. Brilliant. I'm excited. Are you leaving this one for me?
Sure. I brought them for you.
Thank you. Okay, no, it's been such a pleasure having you on.
Thanks. I think
you are truly an inspirational entrepreneur. So much value in there. I know you're at the early stages of your journey, but I think for people to see what it takes and what you've given to get to this point, being willing to invest in your own business, just look at the branding if you're watching on the YouTube, and the product, talking to your consumer, your customer, and getting their feedback, not just falling in love with your own product and putting blinders on, having a vision and a reason that's bigger than you individually to keep you going, and work hard, right? Are there any other lessons that you think people could take from your journey up to this point?
I mean, even though this is someone else's logo, but just do it. Genuinely. If you have an idea, or if you have something that you're passionate about, just do it, because what would it hurt? And that's how I live my life, just go after it. And especially when you're young as well, when you have that time and the energy and all that kind of jazz, you're in a position, the best position, to make all the mistakes. So do it young. And even if you're older, like my mom, still go after your dreams, because it's never too late, because she's 50 odd and she's still going after her dreams. But just do it, believe in yourself, and do it.
And you don't have to do it on your own, right? Because like we spoke about, you got a mentor through the program.
Oh yes.
They help you can go to them if you've got problems. Like, you don't have to just do it and keep banging your head against the wall. If you get really, really stuck, ask for help, which is one of your other points, right? Ask
No,
for help.
and I advocate for that 100% because I guess I probably would have made so many mistakes. I mean, I still have, but it would be treacherous.
You have to make some of your own mistakes to learn, right? That
if
are
I didn't
unique
have
to you.
Exactly.
It's not going to be mistake free just because you've got a mentor, right? But if
true.
you get really stuck, then you've got someone to reach out to and say, well, what would you do in this scenario, right? Someone you trust.
Yeah, and they have been really, really helpful for me and my brand. So I really advocate to get mentors, especially for young entrepreneurs. No matter how smart you think you are, there's someone else that's smarter.
And there are people out there that will help you without even charging you. A mentor that I had that's become a really good friend of mine, built and sold 3 businesses. I think the smallest one was sort of 25, 30 million pounds.
Oh, wow. Cool.
He basically says, look, if you cover this is when I was living in London, and he lived outside London. If you cover my train fare to come into London and back and just pay for the coffee we were drinking then, I'll give you, a 2-3 hour, whatever you need, mentoring session every month. You bring all your questions, your stucks, I'll unstick you. Because he just wants to help. And there are people out there, if you're resourceful enough to look for that. And if you build your network like you are, you can ask people questions. They don't have to be officially a mentor. And
no, that's true.
Because want to help startups. Like, I'm sure there's so many people that believe in your business so much that they want to help you. Then it's just a case, like you said, of deciding, do I take that person's advice, right?
Yeah.
And sense checking it. I really enjoyed our conversation. I'm so happy. Hopefully my kids have come back from playing in the park so I can introduce you to them before you go. Is there anything that you wanted to speak about that we haven't been through?
I'm not sure. I think we've gone through pretty much most of the stuff. I guess the only thing that I would do is plug a couple things, which is one.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you, how do people are going to want to follow you because you're an inspirational entrepreneur. So how can they follow you? How can they get access to the product and where can they find it?
Okay, sure. So let me do my shameless plug first. One, the Ginger Refresher is listed or is in the finals for Product of the Year award.
Oh, wow.
By the Specialty Fine Food. And I'm also listed as one of 25 rising stars in the food and beverage industry. So
Good
shameless plug there.
Good on you.
So we're doing our thing, even though we just launched.
I'm so glad I got you on before you're like an A-list celebrity and you just said no.
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you want the product, you can go to the matchayaad.com. So that's THE Matcha YAAD.com, and you can get the products there. But if you're in and around places like London or in Birmingham, we're at Newer 55. They have the most fantastic lattes there. So or matcha.
That's in Birmingham.
Yes, in Birmingham.
What's that called?
It's Newer 55.
Okay, nice.
Yes, it's a new cafe that's here, super super good. Excellent service as well, and we're in a couple farm shops, Delis, Panzas, the Black Farmer, Lara's Larder, #1 South African store, all over. So you can get the products there and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at the Matcha Yaad. Everything is at the Matcha Yaad.
Cool.
Or just reach out to me on LinkedIn. So yeah,
amazing. And guys, I'll put all the names, the links in the show notes. So you can go and click there. I would definitely recommend following you on social media because I do agree with you about social media. Don't consume content, create content. But what I've tried to do now is I removed all the people I was following and then I refollowed people that I want to have a positive impact on my life. So I follow you, I'll follow other inspirational entrepreneurs, and then I'll follow some of my close friends. And then that limits...
Oh, yeah, that's actually good.
Because then I can get a feed of information, some inspiration, and I can tuck in and tuck out. So thank you for coming down.
Thanks for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Hopefully we can do it again at some point once you're an A-list
big and
multi-millionaire. But yeah. Thanks, guys. That's been another episode of Founder Stories, and we'll see you in the next one.